Is it any different? Of course it is! Its CPU is a neural net processor, a learning computer.
You join me now, mildly concerned for the Terminator. Is he even fully awake? Can he see me? Oh, there he goes. Okay, so right off the back, a quick preface. Is that how you say it? I finished the bulk of this, what was a first impression, but will now be bumped into a full-blown review, like a week ago. Current dystopian future me is now releasing past me's views that future me, from now, so that current dystopian future me, who is now releasing past me's views, can now delete 15 hours of Terminator footage. That way I can record something else without my computer throwing low disk space warnings at me. And if you found the abusive tense in that opening frustrating and annoying, then you'll understand in part why I took so long releasing this. I just couldn't believe a Terminator tie-in game wasn't going to mess up the story. Once you've got time travel in the narrative, it's normally gonna suck a bit, bar a few notable exceptions. So anyway, I was really worried about uploading a preemptive first impression, positively rating the story for it to suddenly take a nosedive. Now I've completed the game, I can say with some confidence that the story doesn't suddenly embarrass itself. Oh, that's gonna be loved. The last Terminator game and film I enjoyed were released in 1991. Since then, most of the newer media seems largely concerned with trying to make the previous bit of media make some sort of sense, all the while creating further loopholes and paradoxes all over the place. Time travel can be complicated. The Terminator franchise opens with the paradox of how John Connor could send Kyle Reese back on the first trip when he wouldn't have been born. The ongoing absurdity of every single stealth, sneaky infiltrator Terminator seemingly being built in Arnold Schwarzenegger's image, rather than as would make more sense, all looking totally different and thus much more effective infiltrators, ranks one among many in the unanswered questions that work better unanswered, if any of the later films are anything to go by. I mean, honestly, I respect the idea of attempting to flesh out underwritten or contradictory elements from a source material. Much like Michael Bay's Transformer movies or the Catholic Church, however, the Terminator franchise has mostly been fleshed out with wildly contradictory, over-explained stupidity, replacing interesting to speculate over plot holes with uninteresting exposition. When Sarah Connor asked Carl about time travel, he brushed it aside, saying, "I'm a grunt. It doesn't matter." In the more recent films, they made Arnold Schwarzenegger provide scientific exposition. Forcing Schwarzenegger to say cellular is a bit like overburdening a pack animal and making it work all day in the sun. There should be a charity set up to stop it, hopefully before Stallone gets put in the same situation. Terminator Resistance's biggest accolade is that it achieves something I thought impossible. It largely makes the Terminator franchise make more sense. Someone should hire the devs from this game to fix the Alien and Star Wars franchises. Set in a future ruled by Skynet, and putting you in the role of a member of the Resistance, providing a satisfying backstory to the events that made the first two Terminator films possible. If anything, it feels strictly like a prequel, but with time travel lurking around and people from the past potentially being the offspring of people from the future, all bets are off. Having gushed all over the place about the narrative, the most obvious and glaring fault of the game so far is the dubious AI that can leave the Terminators aimlessly stuck in little loops. These little loops are easily exploitable by the player, but damn it, bad pathing and general sketchy AI will not save you once the Terminators get a bead on you. I mean, unless you wander out of their view for a few seconds. Despite their derpy patrol paths and lack of awareness and curiosity, once the shots start being aimed in your general direction, your health will go down pretty swiftly. I really shouldn't do this. Whoops. Okay. Oh. Ow. Yeah, shouldn't have done that. While only critical shots from your most advanced weapons will pull similar amounts of health off the T-800s onwards, in this case, even the simple AI works perfectly for me. Skynet is still learning. The Terminators are still deadly, just easily deceived. Which makes sense. This in gameplay terms results in half your encounters filling you with a false sense of security as you befuddle the AI that make the instances of Skynet paying attention and directing its full focus at you all the more horrifying. The result is that you don't ever really relax while dealing with the machines. Which, if I was being generous, I could count as some sort of super nuanced game design, were it not for the AI failing in almost all of the boss fights. They almost all felt anticlimactical. For the drones though, it works perfectly. It's kind of weird giving praise to a shooter where the shooting part half the time falls flat, but the general atmosphere and accurate portrayal of a world only presented to us in a few short scenes is spot on. Aside from the derpy but authentic AI, the most important thing to remember when considering this game is that it feels pretty old school. It attempts to feel like more of an open world game than it actually is, with a semi-hub area. This is where most of the character development and plot are dispensed, trading, store and workshop facilities being provided, and missions dispensed, with fast travel between the hub and wherever your mission takes place. Mission maps are pretty straightforward and could have been scripted corridor shooters without any complaint from me. Resistance instead opts in favor of large open mission maps, with a number of main and secondary objectives you can complete in any order, contributing to a sense of agency and freedom of approach. A more linear game might have failed at, while still retaining a focus more fully open world games often lack. I mean, seriously, I think the worst thing that could have happened to this game would be for it to have been an Ubisoft style open world type of thing. I think that would have really diluted the game's ability to tell the story it needed to tell, further increasing your sense of agency of the various approaches available to you, with stealth including stealth kills, hacking, or sheer weight of firepower all being valid options, with some options being more valid than others from time to time. I mean, the worst and most jarring thing about the game is the frequent sense of guilt I experience when I get into combat briefly, and then the combat music kicks in, often late, like it's just had to get up from a comfy sofa, only for the combat to be over before the music has actually made it more than a few beats in, for it then to have to fade back down. I will then inevitably and accidentally get into another half a second of detection, and then the music has to reluctantly get up again. I mean, I am splitting hairs when I'm forced to state being made to feel sorry for a sound is a fault, so you could probably take my need to scrutinize this hard as a tacit form of approval. But regardless, sorry to the combat music. I worry that this game might have flown beneath the radar for a bunch of folks. I very nearly dismissed it as a lame cash grab tie-in. Anyone that's interacted with the Terminator franchise after Terminator 2 would be well justified in feeling the same. However, if you are looking for a no-nonsense, straightforward, zero-fat shooter with a reasonable story, pretty good writing, plenty of atmosphere, and controls that are so established if someone had woken up from a coma after playing Unreal 1, it'd probably take them 10 minutes or so to start popping tin cans. Terminator Resistance has the goods. It puts you in the position of not just saving humanity, but potentially saving the Terminator franchise itself. My instinct to anyone on the fence would be to give this game a go. It is clunky, not the prettiest, but it serves its franchise well. As such, I have no reason to resist giving Resistance a big metallic thumb up. It's a little bit late, but Happy New Year to all you folks. Thanks to anyone who subs, likes, or comments, especially those who do a share. Recently reached 400 subs a while back, so yay to that. And a special thanks to the folks on Patreon, who are literally making this channel possible. If anyone wants to help out with the costs of the channel, there is a Patreon. The grating necessity of self-promotion aside, toodle pip and have a good year.